Hi everyone, David Seekman here with Agency Performance Partners. Thanks for jumping on this quick video before we launch into our first of many bi-weekly calls that are going to help us really enhance and improve on our first training day start. We're here today to talk about the very first step in our ridiculously amazing renewal call process, which is the pre-call checklist. So as we talked about when I was out there, it is very important to make sure that we are filling out the pre-call checklist, because this is really what is creating our plan of attack. If we are not prepared, these calls are not going to go smoothly. And by just jumping in before reviewing the account, we're not taking advantage of one of the major benefits of making these phone calls, which is really being prepared for the call. So right now, when you get an inbound call, a reactive call from one of your clients, you don't know who is calling, why they're calling, what they're calling about. So you're kind of really on your heels when that call is made. When we do these proactive calls, we're in control of the call and in control of the process so that we're better able to be more successful and get the results that we're looking for. At this point, your checklist is probably taking you about 8 minutes. It might be taking you a little bit more, or maybe it's taking you a little bit less, but it is to be expected that it's going to take you a little bit more time at the beginning before you really get into the rhythm and before you're able to identify the areas where you're spending too much time and where you might be able to shave off some time. Ideally, when we get to that point, our average is going to be about 5 minutes. Again, we know that on larger, more complex policies, it's going to take you a little bit longer. But by maintaining that around that 5 minute average, we're going to be able to get to all of the calls, which is vital in making sure that the program is a success. Making sure that the call is a success is worth that preparation. So taking that 5 to 8 minutes is going to make that call go smooth, make sure that you're in control of the call, and make sure that we get that result that we need. If we don't do our prep work, the odds of us having a successful call in terms of having a good client experience, increasing coverage, talking about account rounding and referrals, all of those decrease when we're not prepped, when we're not doing the pre-call checklist. The list will either be saved to your desktop or it's already in your agency management system. Either way, we should be opening up that for every client, typing our notes right into it, and then either copying and pasting it into the agency management system or attaching it as an activity as we discussed. And don't forget to use the correct activity code. Remember as well, the reason for this pre-call checklist is not just to prepare you for the call at that particular moment, but it prepares you for any type of return phone call, or if one of your teammates gets that return call and you're not available, it will allow that person to be able to jump in right where you left off without having that same type of reactive issue or without having to spend that time. So our pre-call checklist really helps you stay organized, gets you ready for the call. By renewing the call in advance, you gain confidence because you know what you're talking about. You can gain opportunities. You've identified the areas you're going to focus on your opportunities. You're gaining the insight into the client, and you're really gaining the control of that call so that you're able to dictate the process when you get somebody on the phone. At this point, you should have been using the pre-call checklist. This will be a good opportunity once I jump on in your meeting here for us to talk about that pre-call checklist, what's going well, and what might need to be changed at this point. Don't neglect that we're looking to improve coverage. Now, this is 1+, so at least one area we're going to improve coverage. That could be something as simple as raising a limit, like a liability limit, or adding a new endorsement to the policy. We know that companies are always coming out with new endorsements. Recently, cyber liability on the commercial line side has become popular, and things like service line coverage have become popular as well. You could also there's EPLI endorsements, there's water and sewer backup coverage. So you want to make sure that you're identifying at least one, maybe 2 or 3 areas. What we don't want to do is bombard them with 17 or 20 different areas where they should be improving coverage. Let's just focus on 1 or 2, maybe 3 that are really going to significantly add value to the policy. We also want to make sure that we're looking at an account round. So our monoline policies are pretty easy to determine what that other line of business should be. Once we have 2 or 3 lines of business, we have to really start to focus on what other lines of business is in the needs of that particular customer needs. Don't forget to sell outside of your department. So you might have a client that is interested in life or disability, if that's a policy, if those are coverages that you write, lines that you write. And don't forget about cross-selling between the personal lines and the commercial lines. So certainly if a personal lines client mentions that they have a business, that's something that we should be referring over to commercial lines. And for our commercial lines clients, we know that all of them have a personal lines exposure. We want to make sure that we're writing that in-house as well. That's it for this video. We'll talk to you soon on your meeting.